Okay, hi everybody. So you might be wondering what's taking me so long to post this video. Why is it taking me 3 days to post the next video? Well, I'll tell you why at the end of this video, because it's a long story and I just want to get right into this game and play it and enjoy the story. One fine school day after my date with Masaki, I strolled into the classroom, still relishing the sweet memories of the date. That creepy mug of yours just put a damper on my day. That's my line. Go look in the mirror, buddy. Judy's castigating had a rather suspicious air to it. Before I could realize it why myself, he went on talking. Snuggle? Don't tell me. So you were spying from the bushes, eh? You slippery son of a gun. Did you follow us? Well, I guess you must have seen us by chance then. Good going, kicking a man down when he's like that. Glancing around me, I could feel the glares of some of the girls in the classroom. One girl in particular waltzed up to the desk with a carefree stride. How blunt of you. We did go on a date, but we're not going out. Don't assume we're going out just because of that. We're still not going out. Come to think of it, I hadn't told either of them about my confession to Misaki yet. It was hard to explain, or rather, I didn't want to explain. Judy looked like she had something to say, but I guess I'll have to tell her later not to blab. Well then, doing it later. I need to shut the trap of hers right now. What? Well, I've got my reasons, and Misaki also has hers. Yeah, pretty much. Looks like Diddy's explanation let me off the hook. Her smile seemed to be acknowledging my gratitude, which was certainly reassuring. Say what now? Those tepid stares. Even if I turned back time with the watch, I'd probably still end up in this situation. Thinking about the time Didi first showed up in class, it'd undoubtedly just make things even worse. Guess my only option for today is to grin and put up with this. Oh no, I have to read for Misaki? Even an ever so slightly gloomy Monday like this, seeing Ray really does brighten up my day. Somehow I feel like I understand what Michino was talking about now. But what a screw up. To forget the lunchbox, I went all to that effort to make. I'll have to make up for it next time. Still, we did have a nice mood going right at the end. I wonder, maybe I got him a little too worked up.
年上の男の人をたぶらかしちゃうなんて悪い女ね。美咲さんが寝ぼけたことを言っていますね。ごめんね、みちるちゃん。 美咲ちゃんが幸せそうだし、少しだけそっとしておいてあげて。美咲ちゃんね、レイ先輩とのデートが楽しかったみたいなの。デートをしたのは知っていますが、私の知っている情報と違いがありましたので。みちるちゃんがどうして知ってるのかも気になるけど。あれ？二人して何の相談？都合のいい妄想はほどほどにしてほしいという話です。デートは楽しかったのかなって。デートってほどじゃないわよ。ちょっと買い物しに行っただけだもん。まあその程度でいいのなら、みちるとみーちゃんにもアドバイスをしてあげられるかな。アドバイス頼んでないんだけど。ありがた迷惑以前の問題ですね。安心して、みーちゃんのデートは私がサポートしてあげるわ。自分のデートすら満足にできない美咲さんがサポートも？みーちゃんとみちるよりは進んでると思うわよ。まだお付き合いしてないんだよね。美咲さんはヘタレですからね。ヘタレじゃないわよ、失礼ね。大体ね、仲良くなろうと思って無理に関係を進めなくてもいいのよ。お互いにいいなって思えば、一緒にいるうちに自然と仲良くなれるんだから。そうなんだ。
Me opened her mouth in surprise. Good.
では、美咲さんなりにみゆさんの恋路を応援するとしたら、どのような助言を？
Matilda seems kind of irritated. Well, I guess she should be. I dated her brother after all. Her brother. Racer Big Bro. That's hot.
美咲ちゃん、顔がだらしないよ。みゆさん、美咲さんは放っておきましょう。ダメだよ。こんな美咲ちゃんは見せられないよ。ですが、付き合っていたら話が長くなりそうですよ。ほら、みちるちゃん、美咲ちゃんが戻ってきたよ。なんだか随分な言われようだけど。あれ？クラスのみんなは？次は移動教室だからみんな行っちゃったよ。
I totally lost it back there. I gotta pull myself together. I need to quit letting my head get clogged up with thoughts of Ray.
それで、みーちゃんに恋愛のアドバイスをするんだったわよね。その話を続けるんですね。私は聞きたいよ。まあ、美咲さんが何を考えているかは知りたいですね。それでどんなアドバイスが欲しいの？恋愛の先輩たる私が教えてあげるわ。男の人って何を考えてるのかなーって。クラスの男子ともほとんど話せないから趣味とかもわからないし。
I see, that's quite a problem. Since my conversations with Ray always went naturally, I'd never thought about it myself. But if I had to say something...
そういう時は男の人にリードさせてあげるべきね。年上ならなおさらよ。みーちゃんみたいに可愛い女の子は相手の話をしっかり聞いてあげればまず間違いはないわ。あとは緊張して突飛なことをしたり居心地が悪いって思わないことね。
Minnie definitely is cute when she listens to me intently. Plus, I was just a little bit scary about this discussion.
そうそう、みーちゃんの場合はお弁当を作ってあげたらいいんじゃないかな。頑張る。そういう美咲さんはお弁当を渡せなかったみたいですが。どうしてみちるが知ってるのよ。はてさて、どうしてでしょうね。
Ray could have told her about it. Nah, that doesn't seem likely. I bet Machida would have been stalking us either.
みちるの家って SP とか雇ってるの？私が把握できる限りではありません。
Time out. Whoops. Shoot. I didn't know that would do that. God dang it. Now what? Do I have to reopen it? God dang. Okay. How? So sucks.
Michiruの家って SP とか雇ってるの？
Okay. She didn't say bodyguards there. That was translated wrong. What she actually asked Michiru was, do you have ESP or something? Like, can you read my mind or something?
私が把握できる限りではおりません。
And she says, as far as she knows, she doesn't have ESP. Considering the kind of family she and Ray come from, surely they must have something like that. Could it be their family's big on vetting any potential partners? But since Ray confessed to me all on his own, that'd mean his parents gave him their consent, wouldn't it? If that isn't the case, then eloping is out of the question. So it's just a matter of whether or not I could become a proper wife for him. And then I'll end up visiting his home, asking for his hand in marriage?
ねえ、みちるちゃん、みさきちゃんが困ってるよ。幸せそうですし、放っておいてあげましょう。ねえ、みちる、お姉ちゃんって呼んでもいいのよ。もう楽しているようですね、おばあちゃん。みちるちゃん、傘がミシミシなってるよ。あら、私としたことが、みさきさんのボケたではなくて、寝ぼけた発言に驚いてしまいました。でもデートはしてるんだよね。そしたらいつかは恋人になるんじゃ。まだそんな関係にはならないわよ。直接会うよりメールの方がたくさんしてるし、今は仲のいい先輩後輩で友達だから予約済みを気取っていますね。そろそろフォローできないよ。そもそも美咲さんが兄様のものになるとしても、兄様は美咲さんのものではありませんよ。
By the way, Masaki said she can't keep up with the conversation at all. She didn't say, I don't have anything left to say.
私はもう兄様のものですが。
Whoa. She knew this Ray's possession?
もしかして先輩を押し倒したの？そこでどうして兄様からではなく私からだと予想するのですか？先輩がみちるに迫るとは思えないもん。まあ、押し倒したことは事実ですね。だけど先輩はみちるの誘惑に乗らなかったと。実行できる分、誘惑しようとしてもへたれる誰かさんとは違うのですよ。へたれてなんかないわよ。あれは自制心っていうの。ごめん、私もうついていけない。 みちるは自分からでしょ。私は先輩から迫ってもらったんだもん。その返事嘘だと思ってるでしょ。そうですね。具体的に言っていただかなければわかりません。具体的に実演なんてしないわよ。もしや言えないようなことをしているのですか？してないわよ。手をつないで歩いてるだけだから。その程度のことしかしていないのですか？腕だって組んだわ。私もしていることですね。以上ですか？手をつなぐとき指も絡めるから。私も兄様と歩くときは恋人つなぎですよ。みちるは兄弟だからでしょ。私はただの先輩と後輩ですよね。違う。私はあーもできる仲だもん。それでそんなに簡単に済ませちゃうの？それくらいただの友達でもできますよね。珍しくないと思いますよ。関節キスだってできたし。同じく友達同士でもできます。むしろランクが下がっていますね。口移しだったもん。みさきちゃん何してるの？付き合ってもいない相手とするのは私もどうかと思いますよ。そこは認める場面じゃないの？普通は驚くと思うよ。ということは美咲さんは普通ではないということですね。異常です。普段の美咲ちゃんは普通だよ。今はちょっと浮かれてるだけだから。安心しました。さすがにあの美咲さんは受け入れられませんから。私もちょっと二人とも息ぴったりね。
Unable to accept me, huh? Did they mean to say they prefer if I didn't get all worked up like that? Were they by chance having a chuckle with me?
ちょっと聞きたいんだけど、みちる。早く行きましょう。遅刻してしまいますよ。普段は遅刻なんて気にしないくせに、こういう時だけ真面目になるんだから。いつも不真面目よりかはいいと思いますもん。いつも真面目な方がいいに決まってるでしょ。それに先輩だって真面目に過ごしてる子の方が好きだと思うわよ。美咲さんは兄様に好かれたいのですか？そんなの嫌われるよりは好かれる方がいいでしょ。だからって私と先輩はそのくらいで好きとか嫌いとか変わったりしないけど。そうですか。よかった。あれ？じゃあ本当に美咲ちゃんと付き合ってないんだ。
How many times do I have to tell you anyway? Misaki's just my junior.
デートをする仲ですけどね。
That's just... Hey, don't poke my ribs like that.
はっきりしないレイ君にはお仕置きだね。では私もリバースから攻めましょう。
Duty, you were already in on it.
DD さんにだけ話すなんてずるいな。
That's just a circumstance!
事情ギャーでございますか？
That was Makoto poking at!
レイ君って意外と敏感？なんとメイドなのにご主人様の体をアンノーンでございました。
You don't have to go. Hey, knock it off.
なんだか癖になりそうかも。おう、新しいプレイでしょうか。DD さん、そこは日本語で言わないと危険な香りがするからダメだよ。What？ 今の声が。なるほど。別に私は気にしてないし。突然そのような宣言をされても困るのですが。誠先輩も DD 先輩も先輩とはそういう関係じゃなさそうだし。私は不満ですけどね。 クラスの人と仲良くしてただけでしょ。そんなの気にしても仕方ないわよ。誰とでも仲良くするというのでしたら、私が相手でもよろしいと思いません？美咲さんもみちるちゃんも落ち着こうね。むしろ落ち着いて。
Well, I'm not going out with Ray, and we're not lovers. I don't think there's any ambiguity about those things, but he's pissing me off. Hmm?
おや？どうかなさいましたか？もしかしてつつかれすぎて癖になっちゃった？
Heck no. Just thought I heard someone calling for me. I wasn't here though. Must be my imagination. By the time my next class rolled around, the issue had completely slipped my mind. I only started to have a hunch of what it really was sometime after that. More specifically, it was sometime after lunch break had ended. As Detective Masaki, her mood seemed different from usual. She was responding a lot later than usual, and her replies seemed pretty disinterested to booze. Somehow, I had a bit of a bad feeling about this. Maybe she'd come across what happened earlier and gotten a little upset. I guess. I think Masaki might be upset. I'm trying to find out why.
今日のご飯は美咲さんとご一緒ではありませんでしたね。これがいわゆる倦怠期ですか。
That's wrong on so many levels. It really is difficult to tell whether she's play acting or genuinely screwing up sometimes.
美咲さんと顔を合わせづらくてとんずらしていたのでは？
So you mean to ask me if I'm a chicken, huh? Well, you're wrong about that. Masaki was eating lunch with Michiru and the others. Besides, she seemed chipper as ever right before homeroom this morning.
その後は激おこぷんぷんでございましたか。
Well, I can't say for sure if she's actually mad at me. I tried to clarify with Dee Dee, but she was so deep in thought, my follow-up seemed to fly over her head.
わかりました。お昼に好きな食べ物が入っていなかったのでしょう。
Don't be an idiot. She's not like you. I mean, she's not a kid. At least I didn't say you were immature. Though calling her an adult would also be a bit of a stretch. Yeah. All grown up now. Good girl. I wouldn't go that far. Stop sending the wrong message. I'm not doing nothing. Quit making it sound more suspicious. I should use the watch, or so I impulsively thought, but it didn't seem like anyone else around cared about what was going on. I guess this isn't all that different from how we get along every day. It's not like everyone else thinks we're beyond all help by now, is it? By the way, Shuji, you know anything about classical music? I'd be interested in hearing your recommendations about what kind of pieces would be best for someone just getting into it. How'd you know we had those anyway? How omnipotent can maids actually be? Well, anyway, I'd also be interested to hear what kind of pieces are best to start listening to first, and the best way to properly enjoy them as well. Hey, Dee Dee.
平気ですよ、レイ君。 美咲さんにラブなのはとっくに知られていますから。
I guess so. But still, should I laugh or cry here? I have no idea.
なるほどね。まあ、おすすめなのは後で送ってやるとして。
I could swear Shuji and Didi just exchanged glances back there. Well, Didi has a phone out now. Is she texting someone?
感謝しろよ、さんずい。
Hmm? Yeah, of course.
レイ君は果たして気づくのでしょうか。
Never mind these two. Today is just full of things I'm failing to understand.
どうしたのみーちゃん。メールの返信って誰かに送ってたの？朝から一度も取り出してなかったけど。
Mi's cute voice. Mi's cute even when she's flustered. While that thought crossed my mind, she held out her phone to me.
レイ先輩、クラシックに興味が出てきたんだって。兄様が？そうなんだ。
Maybe he took an interest in that stuff because he likes me? Expectant, yet also slightly disbelieving about it. I took the phone from Mi's hand.
どうやらレイ君は美咲さんのおかげでクラシックに興味が出たご様子です。修二君から情報を仕入れているなおでございますよ。話題を合わせるために聞き始めるとはマジ紳士ということでしょうか。レイ君がそういうことをするのはきっと美咲さんだけですよ。ところでいつ祝言をワープするのでしょうか。
I get it now.
美咲ちゃん、顔緩んでるよ。声を聞いているだけでもわかりますね。まったく先輩は回りくどいことをするわよね。石田先輩じゃなくて私に聞きなさいよね。人によって趣味も違うんだから。ほんと先輩ってしょうがないんだから。美咲ちゃんに内緒で勉強して驚かせたかったんじゃないかな。ミュウさん、あれはただの誘い受けですから相手をしない方がいいですよ。誘い本当にダメなんだから。そんなダメな先輩には私が手取り足取りクラシックの知識を教えてあげないとね。本当は美咲ちゃんが教えたいだけじゃ。ミユさん、放っておいてあげましょう。
I wonder if he's free today. He is, isn't he? We'll just invite him to watch me practice as usual, then casually pop the question when I pause for a break. Why can't classes just hurry up and end already? I said Masaki was upset earlier, didn't I? Well, that was bullcrap. I totally misunderstood.
先輩、練習しに行くわよ。いってらっしゃい。
Didi saw us off as I got dragged out of the room by Masaki. I thought I saw Shuji smirking out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't have time to verify that. I was too busy trying to keep up with Masaki, my bag in one hand and her own hand in the other. I was unsure as to why she seemed to be in such a good mood, but there didn't seem to be anything wrong, so I figured it was no problem. In fact, seeing Masaki this adorably cheerful made me happy as well. Arriving at the usual classroom, Masaki started performing with a smile on her face. Seeing her do this was already making me happy in itself, but the tense mood in the atmosphere from all the times I'd watched up until now had changed. She seemed excited, happy even. The way she held the bow, and the colorful tones which resounded as she played clued me in on that. As if to manifest her mood, the music sounded light and gentle, almost as though it were floating through the air. I thought to myself, I really want to hear her performing like that even more. More than just the fact that she was doing this for me, I found myself coming to enjoy the music itself. Giving a nod of satisfaction, she gently set down her violin. Then, without asking me for any comments on how well she played, she took up a chair and sat down. I think that was the best you've done so far. She shot me a dazed look in reply. She seemed surprised at being complimented. Maybe she wasn't even thinking about trying to play her best this time. This must have been the result of her reconciling her desire to play with her desire to not care about how others felt about it. As if she had just realized something, she stopped to think for a moment. That something must have been the same thing I was feeling. As if she'd finished thinking, she raised her head to me. Right around the corner then. Sorry, I should have known about it earlier. Well, I'm happy to hear that. The mood seemed to be getting more right, but for now, it was best to exercise restraint. Well, I guess I'll have to help you out with practicing more then. Well, I've never even seen her practicing once, though. Even though she had the violin prepared for the contest and everything. Well, she could be practicing by herself at home while we're hanging around here. That's talent for you, her voice devoid of any gloomy sentiment seemed to be saying. You might be a good match for her right now, though. I had a feeling she wasn't taking me seriously, but those were my honest feelings. Her performance wasn't as high a level as Michiru's, but it certainly warmed the cockles of my heart. Wait, maybe that was precisely because her performance a minute ago was so spontaneous. Yeah, go for it! I think that's what Michiru would want you to do too. As I said that, Masaki beamed with confidence, and then her smile immediately turned more gentle. I'm grateful to you too, though, for letting me watch you practice like this and all. I think being together you made me come to that realization. This time she seemed bashful. Masaki's expressions changed like traffic light changing colors. Perhaps she was showing a greater variety of expressions than before, or rather she was able to express them more freely now. But it still didn't feel like she had stopped trying to conceal them entirely, nor had she started being completely honest about them either. She must have simply been able to come to terms with those feelings all on her own. You didn't need to tell me that. I'll be rooting for both of you equally. So whether you win or lose, remember no regrets. Just go up there and give it your all. Ah, Masaki's just too awesome. My beloved Masaki, who can agree with me in such an unfazed, calm manner? In order for her to go out there and give it all she's got, I'll have to help her out too, with all my heart and soul. I can hardly wait to see them both performing on stage. Yeah, I'm good.
少しだけお待ちを。兄様、出かける前のキスがまだですよ。
Yep, nothing forgotten.
近頃の兄様は私への愛情をお忘れではありませんか？
It's sealed deep in my heart with a padlock and chain. So chill out. Machida was quite excitable at this hour, but that meant everything was the same as usual. The weather was quite good today, as was my mood, so I didn't forget to give Machida a word of reassurance to stop her from sulking at me. Well, in any case, life's been treating me pretty good lately. There was precious little time remaining until the contest. Masaki didn't have very much time to hang out with me, but just being able to be with her was good enough for me. Watching her put in so much effort for everything gave me motivation to want to do something for her as well. Machida squeezed at my hand tightly.
少しだけムッとしました。複雑な気分です。
I thought you seemed pretty cheerful earlier. Was I mistaken?
今は兄様が他の女性のことを考えていますから。二人きりの時は私だけを見ていてほしいのです。私もいますからね。三人の時も私を見てほしいのです。
You make it sound like we're in the middle of a date or something.
私は兄様と二人きりの時はいつでもデートの気分ですよ。
In that case, I'll accompany you all the way to school.
兄様も女性の扱いが上手になっていますね。それが私ではなくて美咲さんのおかげというのは複雑ですが、まあ私はできた妹ですから、この恋心を秘めた上で兄様の恋愛を応援しましょう。
I'm glad to have your support, but I would hardly call that restraint. I'd be happier if Machida and Masaki could get along better than before. Machida's sour mood lasted no longer than 5 minutes. She was most likely just pretending to sulk and didn't truly intend to cause me any serious trouble.
おや、あれは美咲さんではありませんか。なんですって。
Wow, her mood just took a huge nosedive.
偶然ね。
Ugh, what a cringeworthy attempt at playing it cool. Though Masaki's awkwardness was definitely adorable.
偶然ですか。
Okay, so I just want you all to know right now that she is not saying fancy. She is saying coincidence. That's what guzen means. It's a coincidence. What a coincidence meeting you here.
確かに通学路が異なっているのに珍しい偶然もあったものですね。だから偶然だって言ってるじゃない。先輩を待とうと思った瞬間に来たんだから。おお、確かに偶然ですね。でしょ？
I wish I could snap a picture of Masaki's smug expression, but unfortunately my hands were already full.
しかし、美咲さんの通学路を考えると、ここは遠回りではありませんか？それは家庭の事情というか。家庭ではなく、美咲さんの事情でしょ？素直に兄様に会いたくて仕方がなかったと言えないのですか？そんなこと言えるわけないでしょ！
It was written all over her face though. And Machiru, still egging Masaki on in spite of that, are ya? Well, good work. Keep at it. Masaki's cute when she's flustered after all.
美咲さんが素直になれないうちはバイオリンで負けることはなさそうですね。どうしてその話になるのよ。美咲さんが自分の感情を表現できていないからです。普段は兄様が美咲さんの気持ちを読み取っているのでしょ。しかし演奏の場合そうはいきませんよね。それはそうかもだけど、気持ちを推察するより直接伝えられた方が衝撃は大きいと思いますよ。つまりツンデレよりも素直キャラの方が好印象ということですね。ごめん、ちょっとわかんなくなったわ。
Personally though, I like both.
まあ、もっと兄様を喜ばせられるように 精進しろということです。どうしてそれをみちるに言われないといけないの？兄様の幸せが私の幸せですから。
Thanks, Michiru. But I want you to find your own happiness too.
兄様と幸せになることが最大限の幸福なのですが。
Well, as your elder brother, I'll do my best to keep you happy.
そのお言葉だけですでに幸せな心地です。おお、これが素直にアタックした破壊力なのですね。それはでも私はちょっと。
Well, that's kind of troubling for me too. Like, I've already built up quite an immunity to Michiru's advances, but if Masaki were to do the same, I'd faint on the spot.
ところで、美咲さんは一緒に登校されるおつもりですか？ダメなの？構いませんよ。せっかくわざわざ偶然を装って待ち伏せていたわけですし。強調しなくてもいいですよ。待ち伏せていた努力を無駄にしないためにご一緒します？そうね。そうさせてもらうわ。
After just a moment of pondering, Masaki feigned composure and agreed.
むしろ別々に登校する必要はなさようですね。
Plus, if you turned us down, it'd feel like you wouldn't want me around.
断るわけないでしょ。先輩と一緒に登校できるのは嬉しいんだし。でもだからって会いに来たわけじゃないんだからね。先輩に会いたくて早く目が覚めちゃったとかはないのよ。
Is this what they call being a bad liar?
なんて中途半端な素直さなのでしょう。
Basically, I woke up early, and I couldn't wait any longer, so I came here myself.
そんなことよりほら、早くしないと遅刻しちゃうわよ。
Considering how early you came, I think we still have plenty of time though. Heck, I could even take Masaki back home with me.
でしたら兄様、今朝のように一緒の布団で。
Right, out to school with us.
そうですね。一緒に行きましょうか。
Machida made a demonstration of holding up our intertwined hands as she said that.
いろいろと気になるんだけど、布団とかその手とか。他の人にじっと見られると照れてしまいますね。兄様。
I kind of feel awkward about this. Not like it's a bad thing though. Machida and I are just siblings, and she was only sleeping in the same futon as me for a few minutes earlier this morning. There's nothing weird about that, alright?
ねえみちる、DD 先輩と手をつないだら？兄弟のスキンシップを邪魔するおつもりですか？邪魔なんてしてないわよ。最近はずっとそうしてたでしょ？だからといって兄様と手をつないではいけない理由にはなりませんよね。それとも私がこうしていたら美咲さんに不都合があるのでしょうか？そうじゃないけど先輩が。兄様が嫌な気持ちになるのですか？私の世話は大変ですか？
Absolutely not. I never ever thought of you as a bother at all in my life. Not even once.
ありがとうございます、兄様。
I could empathize with Masaki's annoyance, but I couldn't lie to Machida either.
かわゆい女の子にモテモテで朝からハッピーですね。
Don't word it like that. Though I can't deny, I am kind of happy.
では私も参加しましょうか？ TD 先輩もライバルなの？おやおや、可愛らしいですね。
I doubt there'd be any point in saying I don't see DD or Machida that way.
今のはそういう意味じゃないからね。そこで否定してどうするのですか？そんなこと言われても。
As her words trailed off, Masaki turned her gaze on me. If we were just two of us, we'd casually hold hands like it was nothing, but I suppose we weren't left much in the way of alternatives here. After all, if I saw my friends being all mushy in front of me, I'd either tease them or try to coax some dirt out of them.
美咲さんがそういうスタンスなのでしたら、私が譲る必要はありませんね。
Machida raised our clasped hands once again, then intentionally brought her chest. Wait, I need to stop her right now. Pulling back my arm, she let go of my hand without any resistance.
さて、美咲さん、どうなさいますか?
Machida tilted her head to the side and grinned at Masaki. Though it wasn't a sly sort of grin, it was more of the kind of grin you'd see from somebody offering sweets to a child. I'm hardly one to talk, but being treated almost like walking Scooby snack doesn't exactly sit well with me.
でも、こんなところでなんて大胆すぎだし。美咲さんがしないのでしたら、次は私が。そんなのダメ!
Screaming out frantically, Masaki got between me and Didi and immediately latched onto me. This wasn't just holding hands. This was like an outright hug.
先輩もちゃんと拒否しなさいよね。
Huh? Me?
DD 先輩がメイドだからってそんなことさせていいと思ってるの?
I didn't say that. And besides, you practically went and jumped me before I could even respond anyway.
ミチルと DD 先輩は良くて私はダメってこと?
That's not it. In fact, I'm happy. You just kind of surprised me.
他の女の子に抱きつかれても喜んだらダメだからね。先輩に抱きついていいのは私だけなんだから。
Yeah, got it. Looks like we're back on track here.
返事がいい加減すぎるわよ。先輩からも抱きついたらダメだから。
Getting hugged by the girl I liked, getting to see her adorable fit of jealousy, this is fine. But really, aren't you the daring one hugging me like that? I could feel her breasts. Was she doing that on purpose? I doubted there was a softer, warmer, more blissful sensation than this.
レイ君、顔が緩んでますよ。
Whoops, pardon my French. That sensation I just mentioned was referring to the good vibes Masaki was giving off right now.
ちょっと先輩、大胆って何の?
She opened her mouth to ask, which also begged the question why she hadn't clued in on what she'd done sooner, and then suddenly froze on the spot.
もしかして美咲さんが慌てているようですが、何かあったのでしょうか? なんでもないわよ。ミチルは気にせずデディ先輩と歩きなさい。美咲さんがレイ君におっぱいを押し付けております。あら、いきなり大胆になりましたね。そんなつもりじゃなかったのよ。そう言いながらも離れていませんよね。もしくは当たっていることにも気づかないのでしょうか。 DD 先輩よりも私の方が大きいわよ。さりげなくディスられましたか?
What the heck is this discussion? Like they're gonna come out and say it's a discussion about titties anyway.
いい先輩、別に私は胸を押し付けようとか思ってないからね。たまたま当たっちゃっただけ。先輩を誘ったわけじゃないから。おっぱいが大きいという自慢ですね。マジでニューセンキューです。まあ、私の方が大きいようですし、関係はありませんね。
Okay, don't mind me. I'm not a part of this discussion at all.
先輩は大きい方が好きなの?
Please throw me a better segue than that. And besides, I've never cared about size anyway.
レイ君の言う通りですよ。昔からアニメでも言われておりますよ。胸なんて飾りです。エロい人にはそれがわからないのです。飾りなら見栄えのする方を選びますよね。部活でした。
Though there's certainly circumstances where small or flat-chested ones are more popular, the beauty of function or something.
もっとも見るだけでなく触っていただいても構いませんが、ちなみに兄様でしたら私の胸はいくらでも触り放題ですよ。噂のハンズフリーというやつですね。
I don't need my little sister for that, thanks.
なんてこと話してるのよ。
You took the words right out of my mouth. Anyway, isn't it about time you let go?
どうして嫌なの?
Well, it's more like, aren't you getting embarrassed? The clamoring from those two had distracted me, but it would be quite a tight spot if we kept on going to school this way.
恥ずかしくないもん。
No matter how you looked at it, she was embarrassed. And yet, instead of letting go, she kept clinging onto me, rubbing her breasts against. What are you trying to do?
ほらのただのスキンシップなんだし、恥ずかしがる方がおかしいのよ。
You're the crazy one here, Masaki.
そうでしょうか。私も恥ずかしくはありませんよ。私もレイ君となら恥ずかしくないですね。
Stop encouraging her, both of you.
さて、本当にそれだけでしょうか。
Watching Masaki, totally unable to calm down, Michiru and Didi smiled cheerfully. Or maybe not.
このくらいなら私だってできるんだから。
I guess this wasn't just owing to her rivalry with those two. Even if it was embarrassing, she still wanted to be more physically affectionate with me. Just thinking about it almost made me crack a smile of elation. Misaki, I really can't keep teasing her right now. I put my hands around her waist and drew her closer to me. How about we quit standing around and just head off to school now? Only until we get to the station. Her eyes darted from my face, then to my arms, as if she didn't comprehend what I said. Continuing to cling to me as if she were testing me, she eventually finally managed to relax.
そうか。
Having calmed down, Masaki leaned her weight against me. She seemed like a very cautious kitten who had finally taken to me. Though she made my heart race, I also felt like wanting to protect her. But when it gets more crowded, you'll have to let go, alright?
このくらい隠すようなことじゃないでしょ。
It's not about being embarrassed or anything. We'd end up blocking others, that's all.
周りの迷惑になるのはダメよね。
Her grip on my arm tightened slightly, but she still seemed ever so slightly reluctant.
もちろんもいるし、ゆっくり歩かないとね。
Not so slow that we'll end up being late, though.
もう少し早く出てくればよかったかも。
You came early enough. Walking beside Masaki, I gave a quick glance behind me.
うまくいきましたね。ナイスアシストでしたね。
I couldn't tell how much of that they'd planned in advance, but thanks, guys. Happy yet embarrassing as this commute to school was, it probably wasn't so bad to have days like this every now and then.
というわけで、ご褒美代わりに私も抱きつかせていただきますね。
So much for all's well that ends well.
ここは私に譲る場面でしょうが。兄様を独り占めしようだなんて貪欲ですね。不手に野郎でございますね。二人の方がずうずうしいわよ。
Can't I just walk to school in peace? At the very least, please don't let anyone see me like this. My wish was granted, as I didn't encounter anyone I knew on the way home to school. Had I bumped into anyone, there would have been no happy endings. And yet, precisely because no one else saw us, the two juniors ended up telling me to do the same thing tomorrow, leaving me at an impasse. They sure do see eye to eye at times like this. Must be the power of friendship. While sending that text along to Masaki, I barely paid any attention to the lesson. Masaki continued to casually return my texts, but she was still quite the diligent student. Unlike me, she probably was actually able to pay attention in class while texting at the same time. Incidentally, Michiru only pretended to listen, Masaki being the source of that little bit of info.
みちるは聞いてるふりしてるけど、実際は寝てるわね。授業態度を先輩に報告するって言ったら、ちゃんと聞くのかしら。
I totally know she would. I could imagine Masaki typing out that text while casting a sharp glare at Michiru. And I could also picture Mio just smiling warmly at Masaki in return. As I envisioned that relaxing scene, soon enough, morning classes came to an end. I was spending lunch today with Masaki and Michiru. I had a feeling that I'd be doing that more often from now on. After eating, there was a little conversation about what to do after class. They both invited me to hang out.
私たちだけで決めちゃったけど、先輩は予定とか大丈夫？
Yeah, I'm free. I wanted to ask her about violin practice, but of course she was the one person who would have taken that more into consideration than anyone else. In other words, right now, this outing was more important.
兄様と一緒に出かけるのは久しぶりですから楽しみです。最近は美咲さんが兄様を独占していますからね。美咲さんも兄様も何をしているのか教えてくれませんし。悪かったわよ。
All that practicing was still a secret between me and Masaki, so I still had to do my best to keep it under wraps. Though the longer that we kept it secret, the more suspicious people would end up getting. Michiru must be having a laugh, acting like she's gonna sell us out or something. Anyway, I'm fine with later. And after class, as soon as homeroom ended, I grabbed it in my bag and called out to Didi. And we talked about it over lunch break, so you don't need to accompany Michiru home today.
つまり後輩2人とハーレムルートをご希望ですね。
How did it come to this? You can't call it a harem if it's just two people.
追加をご希望ですか？私も胸が控えめですからロリ枠になりますか？
No.
残念、無念です。
Drop the breast jokes already. That one was so bad it's quite a pity in itself. Besides, why are you even shouting up about lollies anyway?
レイ君の好みが美咲さんとみちるさんでしたので、もしやレイ君は同年代でもいける口なのですか？
Well, duh. It's not like a 1-year age difference is that far up from being the same age anyway.
でしたら私もハーレム入りですね。
Would you kindly take your assumption that I'm trying to make a harem at all and shove it up your butt? Besides, those two have bigger racks on them than you anyway.
最近の大和なでしこは発育が良すぎです。二人とも教室で何言ってるの？
Whoops.
ああ。
So we were being watched. Rumor Mill's gonna be pretty active with shortage of bullcrap tomorrow.
付き合う相手は一人じゃなきゃダメでしょ？
Like that was the problem to start with.
あれ、先輩、もしかして待ってた？私たちもすぐに教室を出たつもりだったのですが、もしかしてそんなに私とデートがしたかったのですか？私たちとでしょ？
I guess. I couldn't stick around in that classroom after all. What kind of rumors are they spreading now? Oh, the window! I can see my classmates peering out that window.
兄様？どうして黄昏ているのですか？
Tomorrow's totally gonna suck. Haha. I couldn't get Makoto's intense, laser-focused glare out of my head.
先輩、もしかして疲れてる？具合が悪いんだったら明日でもいいわよ。
It's not that kind of exhaustion. I'm fine. Shoot. It's kind of the exhaustion I want to forget about right now, so let's get going. And now that I've been spotted, I'm just gonna have my butt run into the ground even more. Staying gloomy wouldn't have done me any good. Wouldn't have done them any good, so I had to pull myself together. So, what's our destination?
実は特に決めてないのよね。先日のデートをなぞるのではないのですか？それは断ったでしょ。なんでみちるに教えなきゃいけないのよ。美咲さんが虚言を漏していないかを確認するためです。嘘なんてついてないわよ。恥ずかしいから言いたくないの。
Judging from the discussion, it wasn't like they hadn't discussed what to do at all. It was more like they hadn't agreed on what to do yet. I guess they must have talked about it during lunch period. Like good friends. They probably ended up roping Miu into it too. I'll have to thank her next time.
とにかくデートのことは説明しないけど繁華街には行くってことでいいのよね。私は構いませんよ。兄様はいかがですか？
I'm fine with that. I don't really need to buy anything, so I'll just tag along. But Michiru, wouldn't you rather go somewhere less bustling than that?
兄様と一緒でしたらどこであっても私にとっては天国ですから。ですが少しばかり心細いのではぐれないように手をつないでくださいますか？
She actually said it feels like heaven to her, not a paradise. Of course! Shoot, I can't leave you to your own devices in a crowded place like that to start with.
でしたら腕を組んで密着した方が安全ですね。それが目的ね。
Upon hearing Masaki's accusing voice, I felt a shiver down my spine. But Michiru acted as if it didn't concern her at all.
あら、今日のお誘いは美咲さんからではありませんか？それはそうだけど。私と兄様の仲を応援してくださるのですよね。美咲さんのような素敵な友人を得られて、私は本当に幸せ者です。
Yeah, right. The way she's saying it, them's fighting words.
だったら素敵な友人のお願いを聞いてくれるかな？兄様に抱きしめられたいのでしたら、美咲さんからお願いしてみてはいかがです？そんなお願いじゃないわよ。
I'm definitely not in the mood for having a girl on each of my arms right now. Incidentally, Masaki's request was to hold my hand, not my arm. Yep. Being in a mixed gender group of people who are all, ostensibly, flirting with each other really is suffering. As they continued to banter like that, we continued walking around, browsing around the shops. Since Michiru and Masaki were definitely a rare pair of pretty young things, they drew a lot of attention for that. And of course, I got a lot of attention as well for being with them, but definitely not the good kind of attention. Oh, please, just let it be as siblings. I couldn't exactly say I was objecting to this state of affairs, but I didn't want people to think of me as a player or anything.
私は兄様と手をつないでいたいのです。それに兄様も美咲さんには私を任せられないと思うでしょうね。そうなの？
Masaki, it's not like I think you're untrustworthy, okay? But we're not just walking around school here. We're in a crowded spot right now, so things can get dangerous for her.
紛らわしい言い方しないでよね。申し訳ありません。言葉足らずでしたね。
Watching them carrying on like that was heartwarming. Well, at least it was when I was just a casual observer. Being stuck in the middle with them was making me nervous. Looking back, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe it would have been better for me to break free from them after all. That thought occurred to me a few minutes later, having ended up in front of a store which specialized in underwear for lingerie. Underwear and lingerie.
どのような下着が私に似合うと思いますか？突然なんてこと聞いてるのよ。売り場の前ですから、そうおかしなことではないと思いますが。だからってどうして先輩に聞くのよ。兄様の好みを知りたいからですの？見せたい相手は兄様しかいませんし。見せたいとか言わないの。でしたら美咲さんも一緒に選んでもらえます？一緒にって二人一緒はダメだからね。何を考えているのかは聞きませんが、 兄様好みの下着は持っていて損ではありませんよ。それはそうかもだけど、でも直接聞くなんて。
What kind of a discussion are they having anyway? I wanted to warn them to watch themselves, but I definitely didn't want to draw even more attention to us right now. But I couldn't just hang back from them either.
あとは下着の構造を知ってもらえば脱がしてもらう時にも役立ちますよ。脱がし、いや、ちょっとそれはまだ早いから。
Oh, come on. How am I supposed to get a word in when the conversation ends up going there? I should have just let Dee pick underwear out. Besides, they should have just opted to choose themselves from the start anyway.
脱がしてしまえば同じだろうが。
You couldn't read the situation of a bitch in the butt, you know that? In any case, didn't think you'd pop up here. Were you following me?
いいよ。モノレールに乗っておったらご主人たちが見えた。
I guess I wasn't just seeing things. But seeing her looking so jovial, I turned away, wishing I were seeing things.
ともかく下着を先輩に選ばせるのはやめなさい。そういうのは年頃の女の子がするべきじゃないわ。年頃だからするのですよ。年齢を重ねすぎて下着にすら興味を持ってもらえなくなっては遅いでしょ。それに言うではありませんか。女は見られて美しくなると。さすがにそれは言い過ぎっていうか、もう少し関係を進めてからにした方が。
Masaki was on the verge of giving in, as I was trying to ignore the situation. I wish she'd stop looking at me. I wouldn't be able to refuse if she gave me her big soulful eyes routine. Why don't we stop for a little rest? There's a cafe over there.
ご休憩ですか。バカ言ってるんじゃないわよ。喫茶店でそんなことできるわけないでしょ。
Yep. Better not say anything to that. If I retorted as per usual, this conversation would probably end up going on forever. And so my wallet had to take one for the team. It was all in the name of changing the direction of the conversation. Well, I'd been planning to treat them both to start with anyway. Since Masaki and Michiru stopped bantering, it appeared my good intentions had bore fruit. Unfortunately, both of them ended up trying to feed me instead. It wouldn't have been wise to stick around for too long, so we left the cafe. And I assure you, that had absolutely nothing to do with me not being able to stand the glare as everyone shot at us. Is there anywhere else you'd like to go? As long as it's somewhere I won't have any problems showing my face in. Masaki raised her hand. Evidently she'd come up with an idea. And that idea was to shoo me away out of nowhere, evidently. Given how many scathing remarks I got subjected to in my daily life, I was just about at the end of my wits. Well, I guess I can just wander around here a bit.
ひどいお人ですね。そういう話じゃないの。ほら、美咲さん、用件があるのなら早く済ませましょう。ちょっと、みちるが先行してどうするのよ。危ないから手をつなぎなさい。女の子同士で手をつなぐとドキドキしますね。おかしなこと言ってないで行くわよ。先輩も用事が済んだら連絡するから。では兄様。行ってまいります。
Okay, be careful. Putting out her cheeks in a childish manner to mask her embarrassment, Masaki followed along with Michiru's slow gait. Watching both of them walking off like that made me think they really do have good chemistry. But even so, today Michiru was teasing Masaki at every slightest hint of an opportunity to do so. I knew it was fun to get a rise out of Masaki and see how she reacted, but she seemed to have some kind of ulterior motive. For example, trying to cheer on Masaki and me. She must have been exploiting Masaki's jealousy towards her in order to help Masaki overcome her own embarrassment. That didn't really seem to be a reach either. After all, it was Michiru's prodding that allowed us to hold hands earlier this morning. Still, we had to save the real deal for after the contest. I guess Masaki's frustration must be piling up or something. Was that why she pulled Michiru aside? She probably wanted to tell her, "Don't put your luck, Missy," or something like that. If that's her intention, she must be letting the dogs of war loose. Since I had the time, I figured maybe I could buy some sweets for the two of them. I didn't think they were having a serious fight or anything, but if things did come to that, the route to resolving things was undoubtedly through their stomachs.
ようやくご主人と二人になれたな。
Oh, stop it. The way you're wording that makes it sound like I'm on a date with you or something. My guilt about leaving Masaki to our own devices was bubbling to the
気
surface.
にするな。他の者からは見えんからな。お主が一人ではしゃいでいると思われるだろう。
That just makes me feel lonelier. If anything, Crow was the one getting worked up. She was chasing after a little girl holding a balloon. For crying out loud, who's the real child in this situation? All the same, I couldn't help but continue to watch that heartwarming sight.
ご主人よ、家で待っている女子に貢ぎ物を買わんのか？
I'm still intending to buy something for Didi, though the way you worded that doesn't really sound right to me. I walked through the crowd with Crow following along beside me. Since it wasn't a working day, there were a lot of people around, but thanks to that, I was able to talk to Crow without sticking out very much. I still figured it was a better idea to go somewhere with less people around. Thus we headed in the direction of the park. However, I sensed a strange atmosphere from people around. There was a large crowd there, and the atmosphere seemed to weigh heavy with uneasiness.
ご主人、様子がおかしいぞ。
Nodding in response to Crow's words, I made haste in moving towards the middle of where the commotion was. And that's when I saw it. A flowing river of red. The girl's body sprawled upon the ground. There was no way she'd thrown herself there of her own volition. Arms and legs outstretched, hair disheveled, clothes stained with the vivid color of red. The river of red continued to pool around her. Masaki was saying something. Tears were streaming down her face. I had to comfort her. I collapsed to my knees beside them and held out my hand. I felt the warmth of her palm, the dying warmth of her palm. Her stare was vacant and empty, but there was no doubt she had recognized me. That red flower which lay blooming upon the ground somehow, but just barely managed to open those lips which were losing their color. Michiru? Michiru was collapsed on the ground in a pool of blood while Masaki was hysterically sobbing about how she had suffered a concussion, and considering how serious it looked that that meant she was going to. At the very instant those words fell upon my ears, my body took action without even thinking. Huh? That wasn't a daydream I was just now having, was it? Crow?
しっかりせんか。5分しか戻れるのだぞ。
No more 5 minutes until... Once that thought crossed my mind, I finally snapped out of the daze I'd been in. Where's Michiru? Is Masaki alright?
みちるの方はわからぬ。あの怪我が5分前のものかどうかだな。美咲は先ほど後ろから自転車にぶつかられてと言っておったが。
So that was it. I found myself remembering the time when Masaki had nearly been hit by a bike herself. What was I to do? There was barely any hesitation in thought between that question and its answer. Whipping out my phone, I hit Masaki's name on the speed dial as I frantically weaved through the crowd of people. I was so angry at myself for neglecting the possibility that this might happen. The dial tone continuing to ring without an answer was piling on my anxieties as well. If I were able to just give Masaki some kind of warning... Masaki! Where are you? If you're talking to Michiru somewhere, if you're taking Michiru somewhere, try to steer clear of any large crowds when you're with her. And if you do end up in a crowd, don't just hold her hand, you need to link arms with her. And another thing, try to watch for where your surroundings are too, especially bikes. Through the phone's receiver, I could hear the two of them bantering, lively as ever. The relief I felt upon learning Machida was safe went hand in hand with the extreme exhaustion I felt from running like this. I was ready to collapse right there on the spot. I felt beyond pathetic, but as long as I had prevented that accident from happening... Huh? Machida? Masaki! The commotion from them reached me, but my response did not reach them. Just imagining the scene that came to mind again made my knees buckle. Restraining any trace of cowardice trying to show through as my own life was at stake, I kicked at the ground as hard as I could, bursting into a sprint almost worthy of a medal. Shoving my way through the crowd and coming to the appointed scene, the pools of red I had feared so deeply were nowhere in sight. Instead, I saw a much smaller crowd than before gathered around Machida and Masaki, who were crouched on the ground. Machida, are you okay? As I crouched next to her, she immediately turned her head to me. She was as conscious as ever, and she showed no readily discernible injuries at all. Never mind that. Are you both okay? To verify that Machida really was telling the truth, I ran my hands all along her body. Ankles, thighs, waist, shoulders. She didn't seem to have any injuries on any of those. She definitely showed no signs of concussion. Breathing and pulse were both normal as well. I see. Thank you, Masaki. If I hadn't called her, the instant replay in my mind of that memory made my hand tremble. I hugged both of them as tight as I could, without even realizing it. I'm so glad you're both okay. The embarrassment they both showed on their faces only lasted for a brief moment. They must have noticed how I was trembling. At the same time, Masaki's tone changed to one of concern. I felt Machida's arm wrapping around my back. That's right. The whole incident had now been undone. They were concerned because to them I appeared to be making a mountain out of a molehill. Right now, I need to just be glad they're both safe. How could I not worry? I heard screaming over the phone, for goodness sake. I took a few deep breaths while rubbing my eyes on the sleeve of my shoulder. And the call got cut off right after that, too. That just made me even more scared, you know?
スマホを落っことしちゃって。もしかして壊れちゃったかな。私は傘が曲がってしまいましたね。
At least it wasn't anything more serious than that, though I couldn't say that aloud. Well, next time we go out, we can just replace them. To that end, I made another promise to them. Saying with that happiness in my voice, Masaki and Michiru were both delighted at the prospect of there being a next time. Naturally, I too was happy that there could be a next time. So happy that I felt like crying. The police came after a while and sorted out the incident. Basically, Michiru had almost been struck from behind by a bike, but Masaki managed to save her. I left the remaining things to sort out on Michiru's end on our servants at home. Michiru seemed to be alright, but just to be certain of that, we had her driven to the hospital. In the meantime, Masaki was homebound herself, so I ended up coming along with her.
ごめんね、先輩。わざわざここまで付き合わせちゃって。
It's not a big deal. I'm more worried about letting you go home on your own. You saved Michiru after all. I owe you my life.
恩人って大げさよ。友達を助けるのは当然でしょ。それに、私だって先輩の電話がなかったらもっとひどいことになってたわけだし、ミチルを連れ出したことも含めれば、むしろ私がお礼を言う立場でしょ。
You don't need to think. No? What do you mean what's worse for you? Are you hurt? As I asked, she turned her eyes away from me.
大げさにするほどじゃないからね。ちょっと手首をひねっただけで。
Your wrist? Hey, isn't that a real bad thing? Masaki tried to hide her right wrist. I didn't know how bad an injury it was, but with something like that, it was undoubtedly going to have an effect on her violin
どう
practice.
だろう。聞いてみないとわからないけど、まずいかもね。
Masaki cast her eyes downward with a troubled expression. She showed no signs of passing the buck regarding her injury, nor did she seem to regret taking the fall from Michiru and suffering an injury herself. Why didn't you say anything about this before?
ミチルと先輩に負い目を感じてほしくなかったとかじゃないからね。さっきは怪我に気づかなかったし、今だってそんなに痛くないから。
I was too careless. I'm sorry, Masaki.
なんで先輩が謝るのよ。どこも悪くないでしょ。
I'm not in the wrong. Is that really true, though? Maybe if I did better, I could have prevented her from getting hurt. Instead, her injury probably got worse because of me.
それは考えすぎだぞ。ご主人が言い含めておらねば、前回の光景が再現されたであろうな。むしろ、これほどの軽傷で収めたお主は、称賛されても良いだろう。
Kuro appeared out of nowhere, then promptly disappeared after saying her piece. She must have been worried about me. Kuro had done nothing but help me out today. She was right. There was no point in getting depressed over this. The person who got the short end of the stick here was the one who got into the accident. The one who was actually injured. Masaki herself. And she wasn't asking for an apology. Say, Masaki, just let me know if there's anything I can do.
なんでもって先輩が気に病まなくても。
That's not my point. I immediately cut Masaki off. We were both stuck in an endless loop of apologies that kept making things more awkward. I needed to break that loop. I want you to rely on me when you're troubled by something. After all, isn't it only natural for me to worry about the girl I love?
そっか。
Masaki's voice became slightly more cheerful. Although she had her head down, she held out her hand to me like always.
手がつなげないのはすっごく問題かもね。
I can carry you back for you. That way we can hold hands.
そうね。ありがとう。
She raised her head up again with a smile. It was a forced smile, the kind that was trying to tell me not to worry about
で
her.
も困ったな。コンクールまでに治るといいんだけど。
Yeah. I couldn't just carelessly tell her she'd be fine, and bringing up how she just wait for another opportunity would also be irresponsible. Just try to rest up now, alright? We definitely don't want to do anything to make it worse.
そうよね。出場できなくなったら優勝も何もないんだし。
Masaki nodded at me in agreement, but I still couldn't help but feel something didn't seem right. Masaki, were you practicing to win the contest all along?
当たり前じゃない。それ以外に理由があるの？
It hasn't seemed like that's been your reason lately, though. You were performing for your own enjoyment, and you wanted to get better because you just like doing it. I couldn't help but wonder if actually winning ended up being your second priority. Am I mistaken? She drawled out her words, as if she were groaning about it, then sighed as her shoulders dropped. But more than being depressed or anything of the sort, it was more like I'd seen right through her.
それもそうよね。そっちが本題だったわけだし。
Main plan?
なんでもないから。みちるとの約束も関係ないの。
Promise with Machiro. The accident had made me totally slip my mind, but when Smokey pulled Machiro aside before that, was that what she wanted to talk about? I found myself getting curious, but if it was a promise, Masaki probably wouldn't tell me the details. I'll just stick to the issue of recovering from her injury for now.
先輩の言う通りね。演奏を上達させることが目標なんだし。コンクールには出たいけど、結果を出すことにこだわるのは良くないわね。後からついてくるものであって、順位にこだわったら見失っちゃうか。
From what I was seeing, she was most certainly trying to convince herself of that.
先輩は私のことよく見てるのね。
Well, you know, of course I want to know more about the girl I love.
そればっかり。
She began to relax after saying that. Her worried smile turned into more of a natural one. But what was that promise about anyway? Walking back home, we continued to chat carefree as ever. Neither her injury nor her promise with Machiro came up in the conversation again. Since she seemed to be back in the mood she was in before the accident, I felt I'd managed to cheer her up. However, I had a little nagging doubt in the back of my head. I kept wondering if that outcome really was for the best. The watch inside of my pocket felt even heavier. Later that night, I received a text from Masaki. Evidently, she had suffered a slight fracture to her wrist, and it would likely take at least 2 weeks' time to completely heal. Oh no.
後に残るような怪我ではなかったのは幸いですが。
It's probably not going to completely heal in time for the contest, right? Ever since Machiro heard about Masaki's injury, she's kept worrying about it like it was her own problem. While we were all relieved it wasn't anything serious, when the contest came to mind, there was no room for celebration, especially since Masaki had protected her from that accident. Undoubtedly, she must have felt responsible for the injury. While I'm sure you're aware of this, just try to apologize to Masaki. Try not to apologize to Masaki excessively, alright?
ええ。それ以上の感謝を伝えるつもりです。ですが、兄様からでなくてもよろしいのでしょうか。
I already did, but it's different from you as another female friend of hers. And not only that, you're both competing as rivals in the contest.
そうですね。
There seemed to be something insinuated in her response. And talking of insinuations, there was also the matter of Masaki's little tongue slip. Say, Machiro, have you made any sort of promise with Masaki lately?
美咲さんから何か聞いたのですか？
Not exactly, but she did mention something about a promise. It was just a slip of the tongue on her part. And it seemed like her goal ended up becoming just to win the contest again, too.
約束ですか？
Machida closed her eyes and thought for a while. Then she slowly shook her head. So it was a secret after all then?
いえ、そもそも約束なんて交わしていませんから。
What? Then what could Masaki have been talking about?
約束というより、兄様と別れていた時に美咲さんの一方的な宣言ならありました。
I see.
美咲さんは今回のコンクールで私に勝ったら兄様に告白をするそうです。
Oh. Out of curiosity, wasn't that supposed to be a secret?
特にそのようなことは言われませんでしたね。
I suppose she must have figured you wouldn't tell me.
だとしたら認識が甘すぎますね。私はいつでも兄様の味方ですよ。
You're really gonna take sides over something like this?
大ありですよ。兄様が喜ぶことが第一ということです。
I was happy and glad to have her support, but should I not have asked about it? Well, she did say she was going to respond to my confession once the contest is over.
兄様からではなく自分から言うことに意味があるのでしょうね。例えばコンクールで私に勝ち自分を認められるようになりたいとか。誰にでも誇れるものを手に入れたいのよ、私は。
I see. I thought she had lost her way, but in fact, that had been her goal all along. She was not competing against Michiru, but against the standard she had built within herself. If she truly wanted to be the best at something, aiming for the best by world standards was an impossibility. So she needed to draw the line somewhere. World standards, national standards, prefectural standards, districtural standards, or even just within the realm of her own school. It was only through pure happenstance that she had drawn that line at Michiru. Had she chosen to compromise, she could have become the best much more easily. Though it was precisely because she refused to compromise that she had impressed
つ
me.
まりあれは約束などではなく私に勝てたら兄様をもらうという宣戦布告でした。
Somehow I can see her asking her parents' consent afterwards. Though that was certainly an admirable
も
goal.
し優勝したらその勢いで兄様に抱きついてプロポーズまで行きそうですね。
Now that'd just be embarrassing. Though I'd be more happy than embarrassed for sure. Whoa. My infatuation is on the verge of showing itself again. Masaki probably would be the type to confess to me on stage.
兄様の気持ちは分かっていますがそこまで喜ばれると妹としては複雑ですね。というより美咲さんの告白案のも優勝できたらの話ですよ。
Oh, sorry. You're right. You're competing too, after all.
ちなみにですが兄様は私と美咲さんどちらに勝ってもらいたいですか？
Honestly, I just want both of you to do your best. Enough so that you'll have no regrets about it. With that in mind, there wouldn't be any reason in performing if not just to achieve some sort of result. I'll just have to do everything I can for Masaki. And it would be ideal if, at the end of it all, everybody would be able to smile. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here. I'll explain why it took so long now.
おはよう先輩。もう起きてるかな？
So, I actually recorded this twice. I don't remember what happened the first time. The second time, I decided to stream it on YouTube. just because I wouldn't have to edit a video and I wouldn't have to wait for it to render and I wouldn't have to wait for it to upload. It would just be there already. But YouTube has given me a community guideline strike because I put the word horny in the title of a video. And instead of, having a system put in place that would stop people from using taboo words in the title of a video, like every other website I've ever been to has, that won't let you put in bad, like, curse words or bad names or anything like that. They don't have any of that. Instead, they just give you a community strike, and it disabled my streaming, but I didn't know about it. They didn't email me it. They didn't tell me it happened. And so when I streamed it for 2.5 hours, it didn't save it. The stream was green, like you get a green bar that pops up whenever you're streaming, and green means that you're good to go. Well, I wasn't good to go. It lied to me. So I lost all that. Incidentally, I played the game a lot further through than I did this time while I was streaming because I just woke up, I had a fresh voice, and it was a complete waste of my time. The main thing I was worried about playing through a second time was whether or not the scene where Michiru got hit by a bike. I was wondering if it would affect me the same way it did the first time I played through that. Luckily, it did. I don't know if you could tell or not, but it got me pretty choked up. Not as much as last time, but it still did. I had to take a moment before I started talking again so my voice wouldn't crack. Anyway, that's why it's taking me 3 days to put the next video out. Just a bunch of failure. That's all. Thanks for watching to the end. And I'll try not to fail so hard on the next video.